the worst guest we've ever had, because people used to ask me who the worst guest was.
Yes, always.
And I never had an answer, because you don't want to offend anyone.
Yes, of course.
But then I can now say it's...
Television has rarely seen a host like Graham Norton, who has welcomed hundreds of celebrities and created some of the most unforgettable interviews you'll ever watch. For decades, his show has combined lightning-fast wit, playful antics, and those viral, jaw-dropping moments that keep fans talking long after the cameras stop rolling. With his signature charm, Norton has a way of coaxing even the most reserved guests to spill secrets, transforming what could be ordinary chats into must-see television. Yet, not every guest fit the bill. Some turned out to be outright difficult, disinterested, or impossible to handle, turning what should have been a night of laughter into excruciatingly awkward encounters. Over the years, Norton has dropped sly hints about these nightmare interviews, and on rare occasions, he's opened up fully about the guests who made him pull his hair out. Now, at 62, he's peeling back the curtain, naming the 6 celebrities he genuinely couldn't stand, and the shocking, jaw-dropping stories behind those tense moments will leave you speechless. Long before he became a television icon, Graham Norton entered the world as Graham William Walker on April 4, 1963, in Clondalkin, a suburb of Dublin, Ireland, before spending much of his youth in the calm town of Bandon, County Cork. At home, his father Billy Walker earned a living as a Guinness sales representative, while his mother Rhoda devoted her life to teaching, shaping a grounded upbringing. Even as a child, Graham stood out for his sharp wit, playful humor, and endless curiosity, qualities that would later define his unmistakable on-screen presence. During his years at Bandon Grammar School, his talent for storytelling and performance quietly began to emerge in classrooms and school corridors. Though naturally shy, he discovered that laughter gave him confidence and allowed him to connect with people. When school ended, he continued his education at University College Cork, where he studied English and French, hoping to find direction. Deep down, however, lectures couldn't compete with the pull of the stage. What he truly wanted was a life in performance, not a future bound to textbooks. Choosing passion over certainty, he left university early and took a daring leap by moving to London to chase his dream. The reality of that choice hit hard as he worked odd jobs and faced financial struggles while training at the Central School of Speech and Drama. It was during this challenging chapter that Graham William Walker reinvented himself and adopted the name the world would soon know, Graham Norton. Against the odds, perseverance and natural charm began to pay off, slowly opening doors that once seemed firmly shut. From those uncertain beginnings, his path transformed into an extraordinary rise that would cement his status as one of Britain's most loved talk show hosts. Today, Graham Norton's career stands as a powerful story of resilience, humor, and the long road from struggle to television legend. When he arrived in London and began training at the prestigious Central School of Speech and Drama, his journey was only just beginning. Long before fame, he spent years grinding through small comedy clubs and intimate theatre stages, learning the craft the hard way. What defined those early days was relentless persistence and fearless experimentation, shaping the performer he would become. Rather than playing it safe, he gravitated toward comedy that pushed boundaries, blending sharp wit with warmth and self-mocking humor. Everything changed in the early 1990s when he stepped into stand-up comedy, rapidly earning himself a name through a style that audiences couldn't ignore. Television first came calling in 1996 when he unexpectedly filled in as a guest host on Channel 5's The Jack Doherty Show. Almost instantly, his spontaneous humor and magnetic presence grabbed the attention of both viewers and industry insiders, opening doors that hadn't existed before. That momentum led to a defining moment in 1998, when So Graham Norton debuted on Channel 4 and exploded into a breakout success. From the very start, the show was fearless, outrageous, and refreshingly unapologetic, packed with celebrity interviews, eccentric segments, and audience moments that highlighted his rare ease with people. Week after week, his cheeky charm and effortless confidence won over stars and viewers alike, eventually earning him multiple BAFTA awards. Riding that wave of success, he launched The Graham Norton, a show that cemented his status as one of television's most unpredictable and captivating hosts. With lightning-fast instincts and impeccable timing, he turned uncomfortable silences into comedy gold, leaving even the biggest celebrities surprisingly open by the end of every interview. In 2007, one bold decision changed everything, and television was never the same again. When the BBC finally spotted his rare spark and handed him The Graham Norton Show, it didn't just launch a program, it ignited a phenomenon. Starting on BBC Two before skyrocketing to BBC One, the show quickly conquered audiences around the world. Instead of stiff questions and awkward pauses, Norton shattered the talk show rulebook. He packed multiple celebrities onto one couch, letting chaos, honesty, and pure comedy take over, creating unscripted moments viewers couldn't stop replaying. That relaxed magic, paired with his effortless wit, produced endless viral clips and some of the most unforgettable celebrity encounters in TV history. And he didn't stop there. From commanding the Eurovision Song Contest to hosting BBC's New Year's Eve celebrations and fronting his own Virgin radio show, Norton became a constant presence on the world stage. At its heart, his rise is proof that resilience, authenticity, and razor-sharp humor can turn a once struggling Irish performer into a global icon. But beneath the laughter and charm lies a surprising twist, because Graham Norton would later admit there were 5 guests he absolutely couldn't stand. Number 1. Mark Wahlberg. You think you've seen chaotic TV? Think again. Mark Wahlberg's 2013 appearance on The Graham Norton Show didn't just surprise audiences, it left them wide-eyed and speechless. Anyone expecting his usual Hollywood polish quickly realized this was going off the rails in real time. Wahlberg didn't fade into the background like some guests do. He came in full throttle, overflowing with energy, and within moments it was painfully clear he was heavily intoxicated. From the very start, he hijacked the conversation. Graham Norton and fellow guest Sarah Silverman struggled as Wahlberg fired off unpredictable, often cringe-worthy comments that made the room tense. His humor, chaotic, his timing, non-existent, and his antics unstoppable. Then came the jaw-dropping moment everyone remembers. Wahlberg climbed onto Norton's lap, wrapped an arm around him, and slurred through a series of wildly inappropriate jokes. Norton chuckled, but the forced smile revealed just how awkward things had become. Even Sarah Silverman, who usually thrives in mayhem, was pushed to the edge, trying to keep up. By the time the segment ended, it wasn't just a bad interview, it was legendary. What started as light-hearted banter had spiraled into one of the most uncomfortable, unforgettable moments in the show's history. Later, Norton didn't hold back, admitting he was completely out of it, like really out of it. Viewers at home watched in disbelief, some laughing nervously at the chaos, others squirming at the second-hand embarrassment. For a show built on rapid-fire jokes, effortless charm, and controlled chaos, Wahlberg's episode crossed into a no-man's land of awkwardness nobody expected. Wahlberg himself would later laugh it off, admitting a few pre-show drinks had pushed things just a little too far. But this episode didn't fade quietly into history. It cemented itself as proof that even the most charismatic Hollywood stars can completely derail a room, and sometimes not even Graham Norton can save it. Number 2. Mickey Rourke, the guest who broke the Graham Norton flow. The moment Mickey Rourke stepped on to the Graham Norton show, it was clear fans were in for a stark contrast to high-energy stars like Mark Wahlberg, who thrive on creating chaotic, unforgettable moments. As soon as Rourke collapsed onto the iconic red sofa, it became obvious he wasn't there to charm anyone. His answers were short, his energy barely present, and he hardly noticed the other guests. Even the famously unflappable Graham Norton hit a rare wall of frustration. With every vague or clipped reply from Rourke, Norton had to scramble for clarity, firing multiple follow-ups that stretched into painfully awkward pauses, making the audience shift uncomfortably in their seats. The awkwardness extended far beyond the dialogue. Rourke's slouched posture, constant avoidance of eye contact, and stiff movements broadcasted complete disinterest in joining the conversation. The usual warmth, laughter, and playful banter that define Norton's show disappeared instantly, leaving the host to fill every void alone as the studio energy sank. What started as a lively, memorable segment instead morphed into one of the tensest interviews in the show's history, leaving viewers cringing at the disconnect between host and guest. Rarely has a guest refused to play along so completely, turning this episode into a painfully unforgettable moment for all the wrong reasons. Number 3. Robert De Niro, the icon who refused to budge. Robert De Niro may be celebrated as one of Hollywood's greatest performers, but he's also earned a lesser-known reputation as one of the most difficult people to interview, and his stop on the Graham Norton show made that crystal clear. Instead of sliding onto the red sofa armed with jokes, stories, and easy charm like most guests, De Niro brought a completely different vibe. The second he took his seat, the tone shifted, signaling that this interview would not follow the usual script. Even Graham Norton, famous for cracking open the most guarded celebrities, quickly sensed he was in for a tough ride. Every answer De Niro gave was short, measured, and carefully chosen. Sometimes all Norton could squeeze out of him was a small nod, a restrained smile, or a few carefully placed words. The show's usual fast, playful pace slowed noticeably, pushing Norton to work overtime just to keep the energy from slipping away. No matter how much humor or gentle prodding Norton threw his way, De Niro remained composed and closed off, revealing only fleeting glimpses of himself. It wasn't uncomfortable in an explosive way. Instead, it carried a quiet tension, transforming the interview into a silent standoff between a skilled host and a legendary actor who simply wasn't giving anything away. Midway through the interview, the contrast between De Niro's slow, deliberate calm and the show's high-octane rhythm became impossible to miss. The tension peaked when Graham Norton finally sighed on air, joking, "This is hard work, Robert," an unusually honest moment that exposed just how tough it was to keep things moving. And once the host felt the strain, it was obvious this wasn't a standard celebrity chat. Long before this episode, De Niro had already earned a reputation as a challenging guest, but watching it play out live gave the moment a strange pull. Rather than fast jokes and easy laughs, the exchange turned into a quiet power play, with the Hollywood icon setting the tempo completely on his own terms. Paradoxically, that lack of energy is what burned the interview into viewers' memories. When it finally wrapped up, the audience walked away with something unexpected, a raw, unfiltered look at De Niro's introspective and reserved nature. There were no big moments or viral chaos, just a subdued presence that quietly stayed with you long after the show ended.
Number 4. Kevin Costner. Instead of igniting the studio, Kevin Costner's time on the Graham Norton show slowed everything down. On a program driven by pace and punch, that hesitation spoke louder than any joke.
Known for sharp timing and playful chaos, Graham Norton suddenly found himself matched with a guest who brought a calm, serious energy that reshaped the room. Costner wasn't disrespectful or cold, he was simply closed off, creating a gap that even a seasoned host struggled to bridge. Again and again, punchlines were answered with straightforward, literal replies, draining the humor from the exchange. What should have been breezy banter stalled into uncomfortable silence as the rhythm of the show quietly fell apart. And by the end, it was clear that while Costner dominates on the big screen, the rapid-fire world of late-night talk shows wasn't his natural stage. Right from the opening seconds, there are times when it's obvious a guest simply doesn't belong, and Graham Norton has always been refreshingly honest about that reality. Time and again, Norton has explained that the magic of his show depends on guests catching its rhythm and rolling with it. Reflecting on a few particularly painful interviews, he once admitted, "Some people just aren't made for this format. They don't get it, and that's fine, but it can make for a very long show." With Costner, that sentiment landed hard. His iconic reputation and commanding presence were impossible to deny, but on that sofa, those same traits drained the energy, turning what should have sparkled into something stiff, awkward, and oddly mesmerizing. Number 5. Harvey Weinstein. Years before his shocking downfall, Harvey Weinstein sat on the Graham Norton show in an appearance that, looking back, Norton probably wishes could be erased. At the time, Weinstein was still seen as one of Hollywood's ultimate power brokers, a producer whose approval could make or break careers. Even so, whispers about his overbearing nature were already hard to ignore. Once the interview began, those whispers felt uncomfortably validated. The tone shifted almost immediately as Weinstein took over. Long before the public learned the full truth about him, Norton's discomfort was already visible. Weinstein constantly commandeered the conversation, talking over Norton and the other guests, steering every moment back to himself and his accomplishments, instead of embracing the light, shared banter the show is built on. What followed was a strained and uneasy segment where ego smothered charm, and the show's signature humor barely survived, cementing the episode for remembering only for the wrong reasons. It only took the first interruption for everything to feel off, a warning sign that the interview was already spiraling. Known for effortlessly taming even the messiest conversations, Graham Norton was suddenly pushed into survival mode, struggling to keep momentum while holding on to his trademark composure as Weinstein constantly hijacked the exchange. Long after the cameras stopped rolling and after Hollywood was shaken by the shocking revelations about Weinstein, Norton began to see that moment in an entirely different light. With the benefit of hindsight, he later confessed, "At the time I had no idea, but now it all clicks." What once registered as simple awkwardness has since taken on a far more disturbing weight, revealing a chilling glimpse of how charm can mask something deeply unsettling. Years later, that episode lingers as one of the show's most haunting chapters, a moment that continues to unsettle both Norton and the audience alike. Number 6. Daryl Hannah. After hosting countless A-listers on the iconic red sofa, Norton has been asked many times about the toughest guest he's ever faced, and one name keeps resurfacing. Not due to diva behavior or open hostility, but because Daryl Hannah brought the conversation to a complete standstill. In retrospect, Norton has described the interview as one of the most excruciating experiences of his career. Responses were clipped to a single word, or didn't arrive at all, followed by long, suffocating pauses that sucked the life out of the room. Looking back, Norton admitted it often felt less like a willing appearance and more like someone enduring an obligation they never wanted. Where other quiet guests eventually soften or offer Norton something to latch onto, Hannah never did. There was no warmth, no engagement, no visible interest in being there. Trapped with nowhere to steer the conversation, even Norton's famously sharp instincts failed him, leaving behind an interview so tense and uncomfortable it felt impossible for anyone present to escape its grip. What began as a lively, high-energy exchange slowly derailed into a tense face-off that left the crowd uneasy and the host visibly strained by the moment. Instead of a routine hiccup on the red sofa, this turned into one of those interviews that lingers in memory, a clear reminder that when a guest won't meet you halfway, even a seasoned pro like Graham Norton can be tested to his limits. From the start, Norton chose honesty over hiding. Coming out as gay early in his career took courage in an era when acceptance was far from assured. He has often pointed to his family, particularly his mother, as his strongest support system, crediting them with giving him the confidence to pursue success on his own terms. Beyond television, his love for books, classic cinema, and art reveals a quieter side, one he speaks about with real passion. Fame may surround him, but Norton stays grounded through close friendships and genuine personal bonds that, by his own admission, keep him balanced in a chaotic industry. That sincerity off camera is exactly what makes audiences feel at home with him on screen. And today, Graham Norton remains one of television's most beloved fixtures, still winning viewers over with his lightning-fast wit, easy charm, and steady composure, even when everything threatens to go off the rails. Step onto the iconic red sofa and you'll find Graham Norton, the man behind one of the world's most celebrated talk shows. The Graham Norton Show isn't just a celebrity chat, it's a whirlwind of Hollywood stars, playful games, and audience surprises, all wrapped in Norton's signature warmth, irreverence, and unpredictability. From A-list actors to chart-topping musicians and top comedians, everyone wants a turn on that sofa, and audiences can't get enough. But Norton's talents don't stop at his flagship show. He's lent his voice to gripping documentaries, hosted unforgettable special events, and made memorable guest appearances on a range of TV programs. His passion for storytelling also shines on radio, where he shares his love of music and keeps listeners hooked with his sharp wit. In the digital age, he's just as engaging, connecting with fans on social media, giving them glimpses into the life behind the camera. Off-screen, Norton is a powerful advocate for LGBTQ+ visibility, using his platform to champion representation, equality, and inclusivity. Juggling a demanding career with personal passions, he continues to create laughter, spark conversations, and forge connections that resonate far beyond the studio lights. Whether on TV, radio, or online, Graham Norton's world is one where entertainment meets heart, and everyone's invited.